Joining us, our team of MS Now political analyst, staff writer at The Atlantic, Ashley Parker, host of the Bulwark podcast, Tim Miller, and Democratic strategist Basil Smikle. So is he going to be selling himself, Ashley, as well as he sells Scott's Miracle-Gro? Scott's.
He's certainly going to be trying to sell himself. That's what our latest reporting shows, that earlier this month, in August, the president gathered in the Oval Office some of his top political team and basically said he does want to spend on political ads, and he wants those ads to heavily feature himself. Unsurprisingly, he told his team, look, just pull the clips of me. I talk about my accomplishments all the time. And he wants them to feature himself touting his accomplishments, which I will say, if history is any precedent, is a tough thing to pull off, as Joe Biden and a long list before him have learned. When voters feel like they are not doing well, especially when it comes to the economy and cost of living and prices, they don't want to hear about your accomplishments, even if you're a master salesman, allegedly, like President Trump. They want to understand that you feel their pain, understand their pain, and are fighting for them.
Tim, I heard you laughing.
I did. I love that he's got himself in the ads. That's great. Almost makes me want to contribute. There's a little bit of a silver lining here. I don't get to offer silver linings that much when you invite me on, Katie, so I'm going to do one. There's among all of the layers of corruption of this White House, one that I think has gotten less attention is that the administration really is shaking down corporations, individuals to donate to these super PACs, this MAGA Inc., and say, okay, hey, if you're looking for a meeting or a regulation cut, one great way to do it, is to go to a Trump-aligned lobbyist in D.C., and then they'll point you to the fundraiser for MAGA Inc. And there's always a little bit of this in Washington, but they've really supercharged it. And as a result, I've been talking to Democratic strategists in some of these key red states in particular, Senate states, the Iowa, Ohio's of the world, and they're nervous about the amount of money Trump has. And they're like, look, these are still red states. We've got good candidates, Josh Turek or Sherrod Brown, Tallarico, but we're worried they're going to use all that money to really come in here and drive up our negatives too. And so, they've got to be thrilled to hear that Trump is demanding that this money goes to, on ads to show him talk about how great things are, which is probably going to be a net negative, if anything, as far as TV ads are concerned, with regards to kind of whether that helps the Republican candidates in those states, Ashley Hinson in Iowa or, John Husted in Ohio. So I think this is like a little bit of corruption gone right. What do they call it in the gerrymander? The dummy-mander? They thought that they were going to gerrymander it to help Republicans, but it ended up kind of backfiring. This might be a little bit of that, but in the fundraising side of things.
The dummy racer, I think is what we can call it. Basil, do you agree with Tim, or does it make you nervous that he's going to blanket the airwaves with himself? A man who has been successful in the past at convincing voters to trust him.
I mean, I'm always going to be nervous because the money can go far, and the reality is that even though a lot of Republicans have tried to be more, so exhibit more autonomy in their districts, in their states, it's still very difficult for them to do that without repercussions. So I do get I do get nervous about that. We should be. But I think the ultimate point that Tim was making is absolutely correct, that there's a tremendous amount of corruption. And that is going to be the Democrats' charge to really figure out how to translate that to the American people without just also seeming to be just anti-Trump and no to everything, right? It's just amazing that, this president really is the influencer in chief. He's found a way to monetize everything. And that also should be taken into account when you consider, it's something that I've been thinking about a lot, that when you look at Jared Kushner and the money that he got from the Saudis to be able to make the kind of investments he's making in Albania, for example, you think about the plane from Qatar. MAGA and the Trump ecosystem has amplified Islamophobia on the ground. Mm-hmm. He's teaching people to hate Muslims, to hate Muslim American immigrants, but he'll take money from Muslim countries. So the kind of division that he fosters is only meant really to kind of make himself wealthier, richer.
You're saying he's a hypocrite.
Beyond a hypocrite. It's dangerous, right? It's self-serving, but it's also incredibly dangerous that he's pitting Americans against each other and engaged in this kind of prosperity politics that, look, if I'm doing better, the body does better.
Who sees that?
I hope more people, I really do hope more people see it. I think people are seeing him get wealthier, but in many ways feel that the wealthier he gets, the better we will be. If he's good, the body's good. It doesn't work like that.
That's not what we saw just now, Tim, from those voters who were talking to Alex Tabbitt. I mean, Tabbitt raises how much money Donald Trump has made, and the answer is not, oh, good, great, that means this country's doing well. The answer is, I'm not seeing that cash. He's not sharing it with me.
I think that what Basil just laid out there, I think that was true about Trump in 2016 and 2020 and 2024, honestly. I do think this worked for him. People thought that, he knows how to make money. That's going to help me make money. And I think that helped him win in 2016. And then, when they were annoyed about inflation in 2024, it helped him win in 2024. So I think that has worked for him. The problem is people aren't feeling that now. They're not feeling like things are getting better for them. And you see this in every poll. Consumer confidence is low as it's been. Feelings about the economy are low. It's been feelings about how he's handled it are low. And so then all of a sudden, like, his shtick really falls flat. And I've been kind of surprised myself, to be honest, in focus groups, the ones that we do at the Bulwark and some other ones that I've seen from campaigns, where just like kind of swing voters, kind of Biden to Trump voters, a lot of them do bring up on their own, like, hey, I'm struggling, and he seems like he cares about this ballroom or the reflecting pool, or that, enter one example of one of Trump's things. That does feel like it's broken through this time in a way that Trump's always been like this, but it didn't trickle down to voters, I don't think, as clearly as it has in the last year.
Well, it's interesting because when you talk to voters, there's a fascinating truism about the economy that voters react emotionally about it often, that they will say, I hate the economy until the day the president that they like takes office. And then they'll suddenly flip and they'll say, oh, I think the economy's doing great. So there is an emotional aspect to voters' perceptions of how well they're doing, how well the country is doing. We just put up on the screen Donald Trump's approval numbers. He's underwater on every issue right now, on prices and inflation, on healthcare, on foreign policy, government funding, social programs, trade, education, elections, immigration, deportation, crime, border, everything. Everything. He's underwater. And what is striking to me is especially the top line numbers on the economic stuff, Ashley, because that proves that Donald Trump's ability to manipulate people's emotions is no longer working. And it's not just what they're feeling right now in terms of costs. It's when they look to the future. They are not optimistic that things are going to get better for them.
Right. Well, to the truism you pointed out, Katie, voters are willing to forgive a lot, especially when it's, quote unquote, their president. But their president needs to at least exhibit some grounding in reality. So, I talked to a Republican pollster who was saying, and I talked to Democrats who have been through this as well under President Obama and President Biden. Voters are willing to forgive if you say, look, I know that it sucks having to go to 2 or 3 grocery stores to, kind of use your coupons and get the cheapest milk at one and the cheapest eggs at another. I understand how challenging that is, but here's what I'm doing to try to help. Here's what I've already done, and here's what we're headed. You can bring voters along. The American people are reasonable and often optimistic. But what you cannot do is what Donald Trump has done. I'll just point to his rally in South Carolina on Friday, where he said, I should be at 100% at the economy. Things are going great. When you make statements that feel so out of touch with voters' lived reality, they're not willing then to let you take them by the hand and offer the promise, perhaps, of a better, more hopeful future.
He is out of touch. I mean, that is what's driving this. Yeah. The economy is going great for him.
Right.
It's going great for his friends. It's going great for the very wealthy. If you are in the stock market right now and you can just sit down and watch it rise, great. If you aren't worried about anything else, it's wonderful, sure.
Yeah.
But that is not everybody. Right. Not everybody is building a ballroom. Not everybody is building a helipad. Not everyone's talking about the cocktail parties that they're going to be hosting with the president of China that's coming soon. Right. And isn't my new fancy lawn so great, Scott's Miracle-Gro? That is not the lived experience of the vast majority of Americans who are looking around and saying, what?
Yeah, no, it's a crony capitalism that he practices. And I think the earlier point is correct that he doesn't have the ability to really translate the pain that Americans are seeing into a campaign promise for Republicans broadly after these midterms. And so it is going to be a challenge. And it's going to be challenging for him to actually step out of his own skin and try to think more broadly about helping a party and then helping the American people. I just don't think that he can do that.
Why, Tim, don't you think he's gone out and rallied? Why has he lost his ability? Why is he refusing to go out and get in touch with the very people that he was so good at understanding the first time, the second time, and the third time around?
Well, he's really old, and so I do think that's part of it. Traveling at that age, is tiring. 80, yeah, it's tough. I think on top of that, I don't know if this is as true now. Like, we'll see they're going to do the RNC midterm thing, which, again, I think probably hurts them more than helps them, outside of maybe Texas and engaging some voters there to turn out, since they're not really thrilled about the person at the top of their ticket in Texas on the Republican side. But I think some of this was in the first year. To your point about him just being actually out of touch, I think he really just liked the fact that all the richest people in the world were coming up to suck up to him. And I think that he liked playing golf with Bryson DeChambeau. And I think that he liked, that Elon was hanging out and having sleepovers in the White House. Like, I think that he was just having fun hanging out with the rich and famous and going to his golf clubs, and he didn't want to. I think that it was as simple as that in the first year. And maybe that's starting to change a little bit.